Now, the last generator object that I want to talk about is a lathe here. And it's really, really cool. So let's just go up and get a lathe. And you'll see that it has this vase or base, whatever you want to call it, here. And that's because it creates anything cylindrical. So if I want to think about like a bottle or a mug, coffee cup, that type of thing, that's what this is for, a beer bottle. It does not matter. So if it's cylindrical, the lathe is your best option. So let's just drop a lathe in here. Now what a lathe does is you go in and you draw the outside edge of, let's say, a bottle or a coffee cup. And then what it's going to do is it's going to take that outside edge and it's going to duplicate it circularly, cylindrically if you want to think about that, and create a cool 3D object. And you'll see what this is doing when we actually get to drawing it. So it also uses splines. And we're going to do this a little bit differently. So let's go in and just hit this square here. So we pull up our 4 views. And let's go to the front view. Let me just click on front. All right. And there we go. We've got this front view and we can draw on this. So instead of picking up one of these that we have, let's just go in and create our own spline. So let me go in and choose my spline pen and let's make something. So in order for this to work, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw the outside edge of, let's say, a mug here. All right. And if we think of the outside edge, it's just a curve that's kind of going up and then we're going to come back down. So you'll see what I'm doing and then you can follow along. So if I just click, boom, I end up getting a point here. And it doesn't really matter where I do this. I'm just kind of freehanding right now. And then let's just say I come here and I pull, I'm clicking and I'm dragging. So the same way that you work with Illustrator, it's the same sort of deal here. And I'm just going to kind of go up, maybe here, and go here. So I just click there and then I have another point. So let me just click one more time, boop, and I'm going to come down. So this kind of seems like the outside of a mug. And last but not least, let me just go ahead and click and drag and bring it sort of like this. And I'm not going to close it, but in order to stop dragging, just hit the space bar or escape. And you can see that I sort of have this outside here. And this is the outside edge that I'm talking about. So what it's going to do is it's going to take this outside edge and just wrap it around. But there is something that we want to do, otherwise your lathe can look a little wonky. So when you click on points, like this point here and this point here, eventually I'm going to want these to connect here. So I'm going to want these points to connect. And it seems like these are, well, they're not perfectly circular here. Or perfectly on my axis here. What I want is I want them to be perfectly lined up on the x-axis, which is at 0.0. Alright, so just sort of remember that. Now if you're bringing something in Illustrator, you pretty much have things lined up perfectly, so you probably won't have this problem. But for me, these points, I want these to be lined up perfectly. So if I click on this point, and I'm just on my selection tool, and make sure you have your spline selected. On the X, I want to make sure that this is at 0.0. And I'm going to hit enter. And it zeroes it out. The same here. I'm going to click here. And I'm going to want this on 0.0. So I'm hitting 0, enter. So now when I go in and I go in to lathe this, it's going to be perfectly lined up. And I won't have, you know, cutting geometry, if you want to think of it that way. So what we're going to do is the same thing that we did with all of our generators. We need to make the spline the child of the lathe. So if I go up, push down, and let go, look at what happens here. This is looking really cool. Let's see what it looks like in our full view. So let me just hit this button here. Boom. And I perfectly have this circle here. And the great thing about this, it's almost like a cup. So if I wanted to think of a bottle, I could go in and create a bottle this way. So anything circular you can mess with. And I can go in and mess with any of my spline points. So if I click on spline, and you probably can't see your points as well. So if you need to, you can go back into that view, and we can go into the front view, and we can look at our points here. Click on my points here. There we go. So just make sure you have your spline selected, and I can go in and move this if I wanted to, and I can open this up. Same with these points here. I can find them. I didn't make a lot of points, so pretty much I'm kind of stuck with what I got. But if I wanted to widen this out, I could. Also here, I could widen this out. So now this is looking a little bit differently. So I'm going in and changing my points. So if I wanted, to go in and space this out here, you need to make sure that you create points there. But you can go in and make any type of circular objects that you would like. So go ahead and try and make anything that you want. If you can think of a beer bottle, go ahead and draw the outside shape of a beer bottle, and then go in and redo it. And then lathe it out, and you can create some really cool things here. So that's it for the generator objects, but they are powerful with working with geometry. So a bottle or something like that, I would end up using a lathe.